could Zelda Wii U be a direct prequel to Ocarina of Time, set in the build-up to the lengthy and ferocious Hyrulean Civil War? Or will we face another tale of apocalypse, but this time in the adult timeline? This is Zelda Unknown, the timeline placement.
Hyrule Castle Town, Ocarina of Time Hyrule Field, Death Mountain with Goron City, Zora's River and Domain, and perhaps Long Long Ranch. There's several threads that might pinpoint as Zelda Wii U NX being placed in the unified timeline during the Hyrulean Civil War a few eras prior to the events of Ocarina of Time.
Hyrule Historia, page 84, states that the war in Hyrule raged unabated for countless eras, pointing at the war being long and devastating. But more importantly, it wasn't about the Triforce, as the relic had for centuries been hidden and sealed by ZREO within the walls of the Temple of Time.
Timeline placement in this section of the timeline would definitely be a good fit, as the long gap between Four Swords and the Hyrulean Civil War remains to this day completely blank. We simply know nothing, and that could be the perfect premise for this groundbreaking Zelda game. Could it be that Zelda Wii U will be set in the final moments of peace before Hyrule fell into indescribable chaos, and tell the story of the final downfall of the Sheikah tribe? And will the great turning point be the outbreak of the Great War?
If so, then the setting of the Hyrulean Civil War would fit to the fact that Hyrule Field in Zelda Wii U, unlike that in Ocarina of Time, is brimming with life, with farmers working next to their huts or houses, and possibly small villages. In an armed conflict, these undefended settlements would be the first to fall victim to the flames of war.
In other words, will Hyrule change radically throughout the game as the conflict and fires caused by it will swallow more and more of the land until Hyrule Field is a smoking ruin with only the fortified Long Long Ranch left? And what about Kakariko, the seat of the Sheikah at this point in time?
The old man in Hyrule Castle Town tells, "Have you heard the legend of the Shadow Folk? They are the Sheikah, the shadow of the Hylians. They say they swore allegiance to the king of Hyrule and guarded the royal family, but with the long peace, no one has seen a Sheikah around here for a long time."
In our Sheikah timeline and Hyrulean Wars theories, we theorize that the Sheikah might have been exterminated after betraying the royal family, and were as a result not present in Ocarina of Time. However, if Zelda Wii U takes place at the outbreak of the conflict, we will probably not be witness to this genocide. Instead, we might be witnesses to the atrocities of the descendants in the first acts of the Great War.
But could Zelda Wii U NX tell the story of the tribe's betrayal in the early stages of the conflict? It might be, but if so, could Link in Zelda Wii U NX be a Hyrulean knight or become one at some point in the game? This is just an assumption based on the fact that we still haven't seen Link in his green heroic tunic. So let us get down to the strengths. For one, Zelda Wii U NX have some of the greatest fan favorites such as Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Castle Town, Lon Lon Ranch, Death Mountain, or Zora's Domain.
Interestingly enough, all of these landmarks can be traced more or less to the same locations in Ocarina of Time as Zelda Wii U's gamepad map from the 2014 Game Awards presentation. Another strength, apart from the close to identical landmarks from the era of the Hero of Time, is the presence of the Sheikah in this section of the timeline, as Zelda Wii U NX seems to be heavily centered on the tribe, with the glowing eye being heavily exposed in the official Nintendo or Zelda E3 website.
This is important to mark, since the Sheikah, as stated by the old man in the era of the Hero of Time, are more or less extinct, and this genocide must have taken place during the conflict.
Nevertheless, this timeline possibility does have some flaws, the most important one being the blue energy ancient technology present in Zelda Wii U NX, as this technology was presumed to be gone by the beginning of the Force era, and its remnants were by then most likely sealed along with the Triforce deep inside the Temple of Time, or more specifically the Temple of Light by Rauru after the banishment of the interlopers.
This would make it hard to explain why the Sheikah tearing eye is glowing with this blue energy, and the timeshift monster and energy technology is present in the game. The same goes with the sailcloth, which is present in Zelda Wii U NX, as this relic would most likely not be present at the stage in the timeline so long after the era of the sky. With this, we believe that the possibility for a timeline placement in the unified timeline during the Hyrulean Civil War is probable. Hyrule Historia, page 122. The dark clouds that had gathered over Hyrule parted, and light began to return to the world. However, once enough time had passed that the deeds of the Hero of Time had faded into legend, the creeping hand of evil beset the kingdom once more.
Zelda Wii U might still be a sequel to Ocarina of Time, but not the sequel we first imagined. Instead, it might be a prequel story to The Wind Waker.
Zelda Wii U might begin shortly prior to the Great Flood and the Hyrule invaded by Ganondorf, and where the gods are about to wipe out everything apart from the selected few who ascend to the newly created Great Sea.
As you might have noticed from Nintendo's Zelda E3 website, a new Sheikah icon is highlighted, and not a random icon. It's a tearing eye surrounded by blue lines and circled fields, suspicious inscriptions, and surprisingly a depiction of waves. Could the last one be the same as the waves that crushed Hyrule during the Great Flood? It might be, since the inscriptions are similar to those found on the outer facade of the Tower of Gods, and the blue lines and fields encircling the Sheikah Eye are similar to the ones found in the trial chamber of the Tower of Gods, which also might be the Temple of Time due to the presence of sealed Sheikah technology.
As we all know, following the hero's victory and departure in the adult timeline, peace settled in Hyrule and the kingdom was rebuilt. It was first when the feat of the time-traveling hero turned into a legend that Ganon finally managed to break the seal and bring havoc upon the land, leaving the royal family no option but to plead for help from above as the Triforce was split. Contrary to their intention of Ganondorf's destruction, the gods decided to destroy all of the civilizations within Hyrule, permitting barely a selected minority to be salvaged and ascend up to the Great Sea. No Triforce, no mercy, and most importantly, no Princess Zelda.
Just think about it. Hyrule Castletown is located where it was in Ocarina of Time. The Great Bridge of Hylia could have been built as countless of generations have passed since the era of the Hero of Time. Death Mountain is where it used to be, and you have some of the other provinces which fit to this world as well. In this scenario, there is no chosen hero, as the gods have made a decision to wipe out all life in Hyrule. Link, however, might oppose this concept and does his best to stand up against the gods and rescue Hyrule from its downfall. Is there any hope for our hero? Or will Link this time team up with Ganondorf to prevent the senseless destruction, bent on taking down the creators turned destructors of the land? As Ganondorf said it in the build-up to the final battle in The Wind Waker. Don't you see it, all of you? Your gods destroyed you.
The landmarks and geography from the era of the Hero of Time and the resemblance of the different symbols in Zelda Wii U NX to the Tower of Gods, aka Temple of Time, might suggest that this will be a dark installment with divine genocide, the downfall of a great kingdom as the hero will be fighting against impossible odds in order to save Hyrule from the destruction of the Golden Goddesses and Ganondorf's takeover.
Nonetheless, there is one central aspect which contradicts with the placement in the adult timeline, namely the lack of the Sheikah tribe in this branch. As we referenced previously in this video, the Sheikah were on the brink of extinction following the Civil War, with only Impa still alive at the beginning of the events in Ocarina of Time, with Zelda Wii U NX's focal point on the enigmatic tribe, both when it comes to the tablet and now the symbol, the tearing eye itself. It would be odd if the game were placed long after Ocarina of Time.
With that in mind, we give the Great Flood adult timeline placement a score of plausible. So what do you think about all of this? Do you believe that Link will be a courageous knight in a war-torn Hyrule or a forgotten hero who will die at the end of the game? Or are we just bringing forth assumptions? Leave your opinion in the comments section below. Please like, share, favorite this video, and most importantly, subscribe to Commonwealth Realm if you haven't already to stay in touch with anything Zelda Wii U NX, Zelda, and Nintendo NX. And with that out of the way, we want to unveil some more of our E3 plans, as I will be present at the E3 show floor from June 14th to 16th with press accreditation. To give you full immersion, I will take over all the posts at the Common Realm Twitter account to post anything that I can find in these 2 demos, before we together will upload new videos with daily updates, first-hand gameplay impressions, in-depth analyses, tour of Nintendo's Zelda booth, discussions and debates, theories, and finally, the premiere of a new series with an updated documentary on the development of this groundbreaking title. So do not forget to follow Common Realm on Twitter to stay in touch with all the massive E3 updates as we uncover the world of Zelda Wii U at E3 this June 14th to 16th. Until then, this was the Commonwealth Realm, and we will see you girls and guys soon.